When I was thinking about the thought of this book and the story that it shares, it caused me to think of how each of us in this life are on our own journey. The calling of the Lord can tug at us at any moment. I was 4 years old in rural Indiana in what they called a tabernacle, where we had camp meeting. And being raised Church of God, that's what you had camp meeting. And at 4 years old, I remember with my little best friend, Dawn McPherson, giving my heart to Jesus. And knowing at that moment that there was a destiny and a calling that God had on my life and a purpose for living. And what I realized is that the enemy's greatest goal is to continually distract us from that purpose. And as I thought through, honestly, the theme of this book and what I wanted it to reflect, really, if anybody were to ask me, what do you write about? I would say I write about relationships, because that's what I know. It's best to write about what you know. That's why so many lawyers write legal thrillers and so many doctors write doctor thrillers. And when you do relationships, you just tend to gravitate to that. But one of the greatest distractions, if you'll just permit me for just a few minutes to be vulnerable with you, because I feel like I have a word from the Lord, if you'll allow me, is that one of the greatest distractions in this day and age really is on our purity. And when I was thinking about this and thinking, why is that attack so great? Why is it so great? I really began to think of what Jesus told the disciples in Matthew chapter 18, verse 3. He said, unless you become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of God. And the reason it's so easy for children to enter the kingdom of God is because they're pure. There's such a pure mindset. See, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus said, blessed are the pure in spirit. Why? Because they will see God. So the enemy knows that if he can disrupt or distract us in the area of purity in our lives, then what he does is he prevents us from being able to see the Lord the way God desires to reveal himself. And see, we're not dealing with a generation anymore where you just sneak little girly magazines in the house. We're dealing with a generation now that has access 24/7 to anything that will bring them to a place of impurity. Impurity in their hearts. Impurity of their soul. I don't know if you know this, but the pornography industry in the world is a $54 billion industry. In the United States alone, it's a $12 billion industry. That means it makes more money than NBC, ABC, and CBS in revenues put together. It makes more money than pro football, pro baseball, pro basketball put together. Combine their revenues and pornography makes more money. It's the number one killer. It's the number one reason for divorce. The number one reason. And yet we live in a society that's not like the one that we grew up in. Now you have to watch commercials as much as you have to watch television programs. Sex sells anything from peanut butter to cars. Imagine that. One of the greatest children clothiers that deals to children and sells to children advertises all the time, and they're never wearing any clothes. It's the most brilliant marketing thing I've ever heard of. And yet here we are in a society where the Lord is continually trying to draw us to a place where he can reveal himself. And the enemy is trying so hard to pull us from what we know is true. When I was little, my first introduction to what the word lust means was one night when Dallas was on. Y'all remember Dallas? Well, Pamela Ewing came out in a lovely negligee one night, and my 13-year-old brother, I would think I was 8 or 9 at the time, was sitting in the chair when Pamela came on the screen, and he made a noise. That's all I know. It was just some kind of sound. I don't know if it was woo-hoo or what it was. I don't even remember. All I know is I spied with my little eye something petite and furious coming off the sofa. My 5'1" 3/4 mama heard that noise my brother made on the other side of the room. And quicker than you could blink, she was on top of his head. And in the South, when you get a whooping, you get whooped with every syllable, okay? So it's like you are hoping the sentence is short, like Jesus wept or something. You're just hoping it's real tiny. But he got beat with every syllable. You will not look at her unless. And I was like, okay, I now know what lust means. It means Pamela in a lingerie. And we've come so far. And the enemy is continually trying to grab our affections. Because everybody knows that when impurity is entered in, whether it's through our words or our thoughts or our deeds, the last place in the world we want to be is in the presence of God. The psalmist said, "Who can ascend to the hill of the Lord but he who has clean hands and a pure heart?"